Hello and welcome back to another video on my channel, and today I thought I'd give you an insight into how to become an illustrator and artist, and I feel like the best way to do that is for me to talk about how I personally became an artist, because obviously there's no one right way on how to become an artist. So I thought it'd just be best if I sort of told my story of how I came to become an artist, sat here today doing this as my full-time job. I'm going to talk about this in a voiceover while I show you what I'm up to illustrating. So I'm going to work on illustrating some flowers, which are going to be some examples for a workshop that I'm actually teaching tomorrow when I'm filming this. So that is what I'm going to get up to today, and I'm going to talk all about how the journey of how I became an illustrator, which started when I was only 12 years old. So before I get into all the details of my illustrator journey, I thought that I should let you know that the workshop that I was preparing for throughout this video actually went really well. So I even filmed a little clip of the finished product too, which should be on the screen right now if editing me has decided to do that correctly, and it just shows how many young budding artists that I could collaborate with, and it was so much fun. So now let's get into how I got into art as a career. Obviously, like most kids, I spent my childhood drawing loads and loads and loads. I loved anything creative so much. I loved it all. So the passion really stayed and never went away. But I would say that there was a big turning point for me in 2015 when I was 12 years old and I won a competition. This competition was in fact CITV Share a Story, and essentially my little story, completed with an illustrator storyboard, was translated into a professional 1-minute animation and shown all across TV. So I actually think this animation is still available to watch on YouTube, so I'll put a link in my description just in case you're curious and want to have a little look at what kind of story 12-year-old me would come up with. When I won this competition, many of the people that I spoke to who ran the competition itself complimented my drawings, and it definitely inspired me to start taking my artwork more seriously. I kind of thought that if I could win this one national competition, that if I worked really, really hard, and I mean very hard, then I'd be able to draw pictures for a living. And spoiler alert, it's actually kind of true. So this, of course, led to me spending my entire teen years drawing and drawing and drawing, and it really led to me upskilling my abilities to be able to draw in the creative arts. And I honestly think that if I hadn't entered this competition and won it, I wouldn't have the belief to become an artist. So I guess you could say that it changed my life, not to be dramatic. I'd say that another big turning factor in my art career was social media, and this is for two different reasons. So these are, number one, inspiration, and number two, marketing. So I think we should delve into these points a little more, and we'll kick off with inspiration. So I would say that growing up with access to social media throughout my teens deeply inspired my art practice after seeing so many talented artists share their work online. It made me realise that artists are in fact human beings. I mean, who would have thought? And that it's more than possible for me to follow in their footsteps. I'm personally someone that comes from a very small town in the north of England, so around me I didn't really see any artists growing up. I now know of artists in the area, but in my childhood and teen years, I didn't really know of anyone. So seeing these creatives online really made it seem like it was a viable career option and path for me. So my second point for the impact of social media is marketing, as I mentioned before. I think when I was around the age of 13, I started to share my artwork online, mainly across Instagram and Facebook at first. And then as a result of this, it eventually led to my very first commission when I was asked, still at age 13, to draw for somebody, and they paid me to draw. And I couldn't believe this. This was a dream come true. So then as I continued to post my artwork online, I worked on more and more commissions gradually over time, including bigger commissions and projects, such as illustrating the book series Panda Paramedic. My point here is that if you're wanting to begin your career as an artist, just start sharing your work online so that everybody can see. Like, don't hide your work away, because then nobody will know that it actually exists. The more people that know about you and your work, the more likely you are to achieve your illustrator dreams, because word of mouth is so powerful, and I think it's actually how I get most of my projects eventually. Like, if I really looked into how they came about my work, that can be word of mouth in person or online. I do know that posting your artwork on social media can be really daunting at first, because artwork is something that is so personal to you. But my best tip is just to start. My social media posts are not perfect at all, and they definitely weren't back in 2016 either, which you probably see if you scroll all the way to the bottom of my Instagram grid, which I kind of hope you don't do, because nobody wants to see that. What I mean by this is that as a creative, 9 times out of 10, you'll be self-employed, which means that you're a business owner at the same time as well. Not many people in the world really are able to turn their hobbies into a career, and it takes someone who's willing to not follow the crowd a little bit. For example, I would not be sitting here in my art studio, although right now I'm actually sat in my car recording this because the house is too loud and this is the quietest place to record this voiceover. But anyway, I'd not be sitting here in my art studio if I hadn't been brave enough to really follow those creative dreams through. I still have such a long way to go, of course. I think I'm just at the very beginning of my career, and hopefully I am. So I've got a long way to go with my career in the arts, but I am already quite proud of what I've achieved so far up until this point, if I'm absolutely honest. But I do have to often remind myself of that, like I need to step back and have a look sometimes. If I'd never dropped out of my foundation art course at college or quit my job, I don't think that I'd be at this point today. I only quit my job at the start of this year, and in doing so, it's really opened up so much time for my business. So I can do things like create more artwork, start posting regular videos on like YouTube, and launch exciting new projects like the Illustrator Diaries. So time as an artist or a business owner is just so valuable. But even though I'm at the point where my art is my full-time career right now, which is the absolute dream, I still doubt myself every day if it's the right choice to make, because the thought of completely failing at your dreams is absolutely terrifying. Often you're working by yourself every day, well that's my case anyway, and you're working on all these different projects, and in your mind it looks like you're basically making no progress. But then slowly over time you see the gradual results, and it makes it so worth it, and it reminds you of why you're following your dreams. So there we have it, the main points in my journey to becoming an artist and illustrator so far. Like I said, my journey really is just beginning. I just think the best way to encourage other people to follow their passions is to share our own stories and experiences to hopefully inspire others in some way. And if you're ever half tempted to become an illustrator or an artist or a creative of any description, then I'd love to say just go for it, because there's absolutely no harm in trying.